He was tired, too old for war, yet too young to die in peace. Daniel gazed up at the sky over Babylon like a man waiting for an answer that would never come. But in the early hours of that morning, something shattered the silence. A blinding light filled the room. His body trembled, his strength left him, and what he heard, what he saw, left him sick for days. Seal up these words, Daniel. They belong to the time of the end. Why would God himself command that a prophecy be sealed for thousands of years? What did Daniel witness that shook him so deeply, so much so that he couldn't even speak for hours? And more importantly, is that vision already coming to pass before our very eyes? There is a secret hidden in the final pages of the book of Daniel, a biblical mystery that traveled through the centuries like a scroll, locked and waiting for the right generation. This is a prophecy not only about ancient kings or fallen empires. It speaks of a time still to come, a time the Bible calls the last days. Daniel didn't ask for this vision. He was simply praying, as he always did. But that night, the angel appeared, and what was revealed would forever change the way we see the future. A time of global deception, a leader with the appearance of peace, but the voice of blasphemy, a system that stands in defiance of everything sacred, and a persecution unlike anything the faithful have ever known. Yes, this is about the rise of the kingdom of the Antichrist. But what shook Daniel the most wasn't the terror of that era. It was the command that followed. Go your way, Daniel, for the words are sealed until the time of the end. This is Daniel's final prophecy, still waiting to be fulfilled. It has been written, it is alive, and it is about to be unveiled. But only those who are awake in the Spirit will be able to understand what it means. This video is a journey through the shadows and light of prophecy. You will uncover why this revelation was hidden until now, the meaning behind the mysterious 70th week, the identity of the king who exalts himself above all, and how it all connects to the end times foretold in the book of Revelation. But above all, you will discover what God expects from you in this hour, because this prophecy isn't just meant to be understood, it's meant to be lived. Daniel heard the words, but he didn't understand them. He stood before an angel, a messenger from heaven, and still he could not grasp it. What was spoken transcended his time, surpassed his generation. It was as if God had torn back the veil of history to reveal a future that had not yet come to pass. A scene unfolded before him. Perplexed crowds, unholy alliances and silent persecutions, and a proud figure trampling what was sacred, speaking blasphemies against the Most High. Daniel dropped to his knees. He felt drained. The glory of the vision was too much for flesh and blood to bear, so he asked, "My Lord, what shall be the outcome of these things?" But the response wasn't an explanation, it was a decree. Go your way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed until the time of the end. This is where the biblical mystery deepens. Most of Daniel's visions came with immediate interpretations, but not this one, not the final one. This time, God ordered it to be sealed. And the reason is as unsettling as it is revealing. It would only be understood when the world had grown blind enough to need to see. What Daniel witnessed was the birth of a system cloaked in progress, dressed as peace, a structure that would take form behind the curtain of history, waiting for the exact moment to be revealed. That's why the divine command was so direct. Seal these words. They belong to another time, and that time could very well be now. The prophecy speaks of an abomination that causes desolation, of a leader who respects no God, who operates through deception and wins hearts with smooth words. He doesn't rise in fury, he rises with promises, and the world will follow him. This is the forewarning of the Antichrist's kingdom, a reign that won't conquer by the sword, but by fascination, by illusion, by the collapse of spiritual discernment. This is the final prophecy of Daniel that has yet to be fulfilled. And what's most terrifying isn't the content itself, it's the fact that it was tailored for a generation that sees itself as wise, yet has lost the fear of God. A generation chasing signs while ignoring the warnings. If you're hearing this now, understand this. Something is in motion. This isn't just about political events or global crises. It's about the unveiling of a prophetic time that has already begun to unfold, visible only to those with awakened spiritual eyes. The order was clear: seal it until the end, and the end has already begun to whisper. So if this truth is stirring your spirit, subscribe to this channel. Because here, together, we are unlocking what was sealed for centuries. And what was hidden will finally be understood by those who have ears to hear. But the vision wasn't just about the future. It included a countdown, a number, a prophetic code hidden in angelic language. 70 weeks are determined upon the people and upon the holy city. And it is in this countdown that the key to the revelation begins to fit. Daniel's final prophecy isn't just a warning, it's a clock. And that clock is just seconds away from striking. 70 weeks are determined. These words echoed like a riddle between heaven and earth. Daniel heard them from the mouth of the angel Gabriel, yet their meaning seemed to travel through time under a veil. 70 weeks for what? To bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up visions and prophecies, to anoint the most holy. Heaven was announcing a complete plan, a divine script that would culminate in final redemption. But there was something no one expected: a hidden gap, a silent space between the 69th and the 70th week. A space where time seemed suspended, awaiting the final countdown. The prophecy is clear. From the issuing of the decree to restore Jerusalem until the Messiah, the Prince, there would be 7 weeks and 62 weeks, 69. And at the end of the 69th, the Anointed One would be cut off. That happened. Jesus entered Jerusalem riding on a donkey, was rejected, crucified, and the temple was destroyed, exactly as foretold. But the 70th week, the final one, has not yet come. This is one of the greatest biblical mysteries in prophetic history, an invisible gap that has now lasted 2,000 years. And it's no mistake, it is a pause planned by God. A time of grace, when salvation would be extended to all nations. A time when the Spirit would move among the peoples, calling, convicting, awakening. But this pause has an expiration date, and the final week is about to begin. This final week, 7 years, is the most feared and awaited period in biblical eschatology. It is the final stage where faith will be tested and all masks removed. It's when a peace treaty will be signed by a charismatic leader who will dominate the nations. In the middle of the week, he will break the covenant, desecrate the temple, and reveal himself as God's enemy. The time of the abomination that causes desolation, the time of ultimate deception, the time of the Antichrist's kingdom. That's why Daniel's prophecy is essential, because it not only reveals what will happen, it reveals when. It functions like a prophetic clock, and that clock doesn't delay. It simply waits for the right moment to restart its countdown. What's most astonishing is that many signs around us point to that restart. The re-establishment of Israel as a nation, the cry for peace in the Middle East, advances in surveillance technologies, and a widespread spiritual coldness. All of it converges toward one reality. We are at the threshold of the 70th week. The last days are no longer a distant idea. They are becoming a fast-approaching scene. The gap is ending. The prophetic pause is coming to a close. And the question that remains is, who will be ready when the clock restarts? There is a tense silence between the last trumpet of the past and the first chime of the future. That is the space we find ourselves in now, a time of decision, a time when knowledge of the Word is no longer optional. It is spiritual survival. That's why this message is not just prophetic information, it is a call to vigilance, an urgent summons to those who discern the times. Because when the covenant is signed, when the 7-year treaty arises, it will be too late to wake up. The final week will have begun, and the world will enter a countdown that will change everything forever. Daniel did not fully understand what he saw, but he obeyed, and he recorded the map the world now needs to read with spiritual eyes. The final week is not a symbolic event. It is real, it is literal, and it may be about to begin. In the middle of the final prophetic week, a king will rise. He will not come with swords or armies, at least not at first. His rule will be far more subtle. He will conquer through diplomacy, through speech, through the appearance of wisdom. Daniel describes him as a king of fierce countenance, skilled in intrigue. But behind his eloquence will be the most corrupt heart the world has ever known. He will be the pinnacle of mankind's rebellion against God, the leader of the final empire, the master of deception, the Antichrist. This figure is not a metaphor. He is described in Scripture with astonishing detail. His rule will be global. He will make covenants with many, establish a system of control, and demand worship. It will not be just a political tyranny, it will be a spiritual one. He will not tolerate true faith. He will defile what is sacred. He will sit in the place that belongs to God, and he will say, "I am." This is the height of the Antichrist's kingdom, a system that begins in stealth but ends in violence. That presents itself as hope but carries destruction. Daniel saw this unfolding and trembled. He saw a little horn rising among 10 others, a power that uprooted kings and seduced nations. And as he sought to understand, the angel explained, "This king will rise up against the Prince of Princes, but he will be broken, not by human hands." What we're witnessing today is the foundation of that structure being laid. Economic unification, a message of tolerance that excludes faith, the control of information, the rejection of truth, all of it are shadows of what is to come. They are signs that the stage is being set for the final act. But the most alarming part is not the rise of this leader, it is the reaction of the people. The prophecy shows that multitudes will follow him with enthusiasm, that the world will cheer his rise, that he will be welcomed as a savior. This is the true danger, a deception so carefully crafted that even the elect, if possible, would be deceived. That is why Daniel's prophecy is so vital. It doesn't leave us in the dark. It reveals in advance the steps this figure will take. It warns us of his covenant, his betrayal, his attack on the faith. And it shows us that despite the power he will wield, he is condemned from the very beginning. Because there is no throne that can withstand the fire of heaven. When we read about this king who exalts himself above all that is called God, we are facing a biblical mystery that speaks of the final great battle between light and darkness, but also of the false peace that will come before the chaos. Because the Antichrist will not present himself as humanity's enemy, but as its protector, and that is where many will fall. This part of Daniel's final prophecy reveals a time when discernment will matter more than sight. A time when faith will no longer be a concept, but a life or death choice. The last days will require from believers more than knowledge. They will demand courage, endurance, and unwavering loyalty. And when all seems lost, when the temple is defiled, when persecution becomes unbearable, then the end will come. Not by human strength, not by uprisings or civil wars, but by a direct intervention from heaven. For it is written, "He shall be broken without human hands." Our hope is not in the power of men, but in the faithfulness of the eternal God. And even when deception seems absolute, there will be those who see through the darkness. Daniel calls them the wise. Those who shine even in the night. Daniel trembled at what he heard. The angel did not soften the words. He made no promise of immediate relief. He simply declared, "At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince who protects your people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time." This was no metaphor. It was prophetic reality. Humanity would pass through a darkness like never before, and only those firmly grounded in faith would be able to endure it. This time of distress will not be caused merely by war, plagues, or economic collapse. It will come from a complete inversion of values. Truth will be mocked. What is sacred will be defiled. The name of God will be silenced by human decrees, and the faithful will be persecuted simply for daring to remain standing. The system of the Antichrist's kingdom will demand total surrender, and whoever refuses to bow will be exposed. Yet Daniel's prophecy does not declare only suffering, it carries a promise. But at that time your people, everyone whose name is found written in the book, shall be delivered. There will be a line of fire separating those who live by appearance from those who live by faith. Those who truly know God will not be spared from the distress, but they will be preserved in spirit. And that preservation is worth far more than any earthly protection. Jesus confirmed Daniel's vision. In Matthew 24, he echoed the same words, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever shall be." A time of darkness for the world, but also a time of testing for those who claim to believe. The last days will separate those who sing from those who pray, those who talk about faith from those who live by it. And the most shocking part is that this time is already forming on the horizon. The spread of injustice, moral collapse, the rise of global control, the allure of false peace, these are the winds announcing the coming storm. We are watching the stage being set with prophetic precision, and still many remain asleep. But there is a group that will endure, not because they are strong in themselves, but because they know their God. They will not bow. They will not sell out. They will not be silenced. Their strength will not come from weapons, but from conviction. They will not be sustained by the world, but by the Spirit. And when the world screams in panic, they will whisper hope. Daniel's final prophecy shows that, in the midst of the greatest anguish in history, God will raise up men and women who will be like burning torches in the dark. They will not shine for their own glory, but for heaven's. They will be recognized not by applause, but by their faithfulness. And even if the world overlooks them, heaven will see them. Because in the middle of collapse, there will be those who remain standing, and without fanfare, they will light the path for others. These are the ones who, even in pain, keep their eyes lifted upward. Those who shine, not because of status, but because of essence, not from position, but from presence. In the heart of chaos, where truth grows scarce and darkness seems to suffocate even hope itself, Daniel's prophecy announces something unexpected: light. Not an ordinary light, but one born from faithfulness. Those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. In the midst of the darkest hour in history, there will be those who not only endure, they will reflect the very character of God. These will not be recognized by prominent positions or the strength of their social influence. They will be anonymous in the eyes of the world, but known in heaven. In a time when everything seems to collapse, they will keep the flame of faith alive, not by human heroism, but through deep communion with the Spirit. While many will stumble in the confusion of the last days, these will remain firm, not because they understand everything, but because they know the one who rules over all. Daniel's final prophecy does not merely warn of the judgment to come, it also honors those who choose to stay faithful. In a world driven by vanity and deception, the wise will be those who see with the eyes of the heart. They will not be swayed by outward signs, nor will they chase after human solutions. They will have discernment, a rare virtue when deception becomes the norm. And they will lead others to righteousness, even when injustice seems to prevail. It's no coincidence that this promise comes right after the description of the time of anguish, because it is precisely in the darkest days that the light of the righteous becomes visible. The contrast will reveal the difference between those who live by appearance and those who live by presence, between those who bow to the system of the world and those who remain rooted in the Word. These are the ones who, even while persecuted, will not retreat. Even when wounded, they will not give up. Even in silence, they will continue to influence. Their mission will not be to build empires or seek positions. It will be to keep the fire burning, to teach the truth through the way they live, to point upward when everyone else is looking down. Their authority will come from surrender and their impact from obedience. They will understand that in the last days, testimony will speak louder than any argument, and this will not be the result of human effort. It will be the fruit of a heart shaped by heaven. These righteous ones will have walked through the fire of affliction and still held sweetness in their soul. They will have seen the collapse around them and yet will hold on to peace. They will have wept for many, yet will continue to intercede. Their strength will be invisible, yet indestructible, and their light will be noticed, not for its intensity, but for its purity. Daniel's prophecy is not just warning us, it's inviting us. It is telling us that even in such difficult times, it is still possible to live in a way that glorifies God. It is reminding us that stars only shine when night falls, and that heaven is still searching for those willing to stand firm, not to be seen, but to shine. It will not be culture that defines who we are, nor will it be outside pressure that shapes our path, but the eternal truth we carry in our hearts. Because even when the world turns off every light, there will still be those lit by God, and it is that quiet glow that will lead the chosen safely to the end. The visions had ceased. Heaven had gone silent, but within Daniel something still burned. He didn't understand everything he saw, and yet he obeyed. The prophecy didn't come to satisfy curiosity. It came to keep the faithful alert. It wasn't about grasping every detail, but about living with eyes wide open. Because the true urgency is not in the date of the end, but in the state of the heart when it comes. Daniel's final prophecy is like a sealed letter handed to a future generation. It passed through kings, empires, and centuries, waiting for the right moment to be opened, a time when the signs would become visible, a time when the world would cry out for peace and safety. Without realizing it stood on the edge of spiritual collapse. We are living in that time. A period where technology advances, but truth retreats, where control grows stronger and discernment grows weaker. And in this very setting, the echo of the angel's words still resounds. Go your way, Daniel, for these words are sealed until the time of the end. The seal is breaking, the invisible countdown is about to restart, and the question that remains is, who is awake? The call is not to fear, but to discern, not to run from the world, but to walk through it with purpose. Because those who know the word are not surprised by the events, they are guided by them. The last days are not a threat to the faithful. They are a chance to keep their garments clean while everything around them is defiled. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave a like. That helps the content reach more people who are also seeking to understand the mysteries of Scripture. Share this video with someone you believe needs to hear this revelation, and use the comments to share your insight, your vision, or something that touched you during this journey. Sometimes one word from you can awaken someone who is still asleep. But above all, do not forget what has been revealed, because the greatest deception of the end times will be distraction. Many won't deny the faith, they'll simply forget it. And that's why Daniel was told to seal the words, so that when the hour came, only the watchful would recognize the sound. The story ends in silence, but also in hope, because it's not empires that endure, nor kings, nor decrees. What endures is the word. and it always comes to pass.